Simcha, celebration of life.
Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wallman. One of the very first Jews to arrive in South Africa, Benjamin Solomon, settled in the town of Paarl in the Boerland region of the Western Cape in 1806. Since then, Paarl has become one of South Africa's most historic Jewish communities, uniquely situated in the valley that gave birth to Afrikaans. The earliest Jewish settlers used to gather together in the center of town for the High Holy Days, even before the formation of a congregation. From the 1860s onwards, Jews from the Netherlands immigrated to Paarl, integrating with the already familiar Dutch language and culture. Many of their descendants still remain in Paarl today.
Paarl community is probably one of the oldest, but I think of the country communities, we're probably one of the few that are still viable.
From the late 1870s, the 1880s onwards, there was the mass immigration from the shtetls, the little villages in Lithuania. And that completely changed the makeup of the community in Paarl. They brought their whole culture, of the shtetl, transferred it to the bottom of Africa here. So the services, the language, the food, everything was imported by them. What would a Jewish community be without chicken soup and kneidlich?
Every second house was Jewish owned. Castle Street, De Villiers Street, Alexander Street and Louis Street. It was known as Kugelgas.
They were very highly educated, but in the biblical sense. But they didn't have any secular education. So they all went into small businesses. They mainly opened small retail shops.
On Yom Tovim, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, the whole town would come to a standstill because everybody closed in those days.
When the community was officially founded in 1893, they purchased a house where most of the Jews lived, and they took out the central wall and furnished it like a shul. And as the community expanded, they decided to build a purpose-built synagogue in 1904, this one, and the cornerstone was laid by the famous Reverend Bender. At the same time, the municipality started to lay out the streets, and they tried to find names of some natural feature, and they chose synagogue. It shows you that they didn't hide the fact there's a synagogue, and you often hear that they say, hulle woon in Synagogestraat.
The present shul burned down in, I think, 1936.
Which destroyed the interior. So they decided to keep this but expand the interior.
And a very famous South African Afrikaans architect redesigned it, and this is what it looks like today. The bimmer was donated by one of our members. All the woodwork is Burmese teak, but eventually, with dwindling numbers, it was rather silly having one or two ladies sitting upstairs. So we moved the bimmer forward and we put up a mechitza to make it more user-friendly. And as you can see, it's still in pristine condition, and we try and keep it that way. Before my time, some people decided that they would build a Talmud Torah hall apart from the shul. So we got a huge facility. Unfortunately, because of disuse, it became rather ramshackle and needed a lot of attention. But fortunately, a lady is going to start a Montessori school there for junior kids. They are busy renovating at the moment, but hoping to start in the new year. The beauty of it is that we will still have access to our kosher kitchen, and we will be able to use the hall whenever we require it. You know, at one stage in the 50s, we had over 500 souls, about 275 families, with the result that the shul was full, Yom Tovim.
Because they had to bring chairs in for the people who came to the synagogue once a year to accommodate them.
We had a fantastic cheder, 2 classrooms. We used to have a rabbi.
A Jews college rabbi from England, Rabbi Dr. Levine. He spoke the most beautiful English.
We had a chazan, we had a shamas. We were like a garden shul on a mini scale.
And it was a happy time. It was a more innocent time.
A week before Rosh Hashanah, as an example, the treasurer and the secretary used to sit in the Talmud Torah hall, and people used to come and pay their accounts and book their seats. In fact, behind the seats, you'll still see little brass clips where their names were inserted. And lo and behold, if you sat on somebody's seat, big trouble.
The Jews of Paarl have played a leading role in the town's cultural, sporting and social life. Paarl is a respected community which holds a special place in the minds and hearts of all those who come from this beautiful part of the world. One can only hope and pray that the final chapter is yet to be written.
It seems to be that the end of the 1940s, there was a movement towards Israel because this community was always a very pro-Israel one, Zionist community. And the children of the immigrants, they became doctors and accountants and architects, the normal thing. So they obviously left to the larger urban centers, to Cape Town and so on. But many of them still had a link to Paarl. They became what was known as country members. And when they passed on, many people decided to be buried here in the new cemetery.
We have 2 cemeteries. Here's the old cemetery, which is at the bottom end of Hospital Street.
The old cemetery was founded at the same time as the Jewish community in 1893. It was a terrible problem before. If somebody passed away in Paarl before 1893, they had to take the body to Cape Town to be buried. And that was a difficult problem.
Very interesting. There are a lot of unmarked graves, which we think are kiddies' graves, children's graves. A lot of people died in the flu epidemic in the 1914-18 era. We also have 1 or 2 tombstones written in High Dutch. This dates back from about 1890.
The new cemetery is in a beautiful area. It's a municipal cemetery, but it's only for Jews. And it's got a beautiful view of the valley, the mountains and so on.
Most people who visit the cemetery will agree that it's probably the best kept cemetery in the Western Cape. We take pride in it, and we spend a lot of time and effort in keeping it clean and neat.
There aren't too many Jewish communities on the platteland which one can say is still viable.
We have a lot of members on our books who live out of Paarl. I think quite a few in Cape Town. We even have one in Robertson. People who want to be associated with the shul. It doesn't really help us much as far as attendance is concerned. But our own membership in Paarl is very low. If we have a function and everybody comes, we're about 50 people, including kids. And we've got this wonderful arrangement. Whether we have a minyan or not, the shul will be open every Friday evening. Shabbat morning, we unfortunately can't. But when it comes to the Yom Tovim, we have people coming from town and from Sea Point and And we get 30, 40 people, which to us is like a big yonto. I just feel I want to give back to the community as much as I can. And this is my way of giving back to the shul where my father was, where my mother was, you know. It's just a tradition that we must keep it going.
And we hope it will survive for years to come, even though it may only be supported by the descendants of the original congregants.
You know, if we all take the attitude that I don't want to do it, what will happen to us? You know, we have to be a little bit dedicated to the cause. And I will stay here until the lights must go out.
Well, that's the show for this week. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you'd like to catch any of our previous episodes, you can find them on our website at www.spiritsister.co.za. And as always, we'd love to hear from you, so find us on Facebook at Spirit Sister Productions. As always, from me, Nikki, and the team, shalom and have a safe and peaceful week.